There have been many quotes written and said about children. It is said that children are a gift from God. It is also said that the test of the morality of a society is what it does for its children. All societies in the world have children, but not all children have homes. Most of these children found shelter and food in institutions.
Watoto Wema Center as an institution has a total of 77 children, 46 who are accommodated in the center, 15 that are on a daycare program, and 20 that are on home-based program.
Say we've been having needy children in terms of issues to do with education, food, shelter, clothing, etc.
These institutions were a much-needed help in time of need. Children homes have traditionally been the place of rescue for children in distress and have provided an immediate solution for such children.
Here we have good caretakers and they get balanced diet.
As a home, we offer temporary protection. We give children security, clothe the child.
I love the institution because everybody accepted the way I am. I feel a sense of belonging while I was there. At the same time, I was given education.
So the services we give to these children includes that counseling, feeding, clothing, education, and even medication when they are sick. We take them to the hospital.
In the 1960s, there were a new emerging social caregivers who worked under a different system, but they borrowed heavily from the government. These emerging social caregivers provided an open-ended care system. It is estimated that there were 300 to 500,000 children in Kenya who live in institutions.
We have 60 children here, but only 3 we got HIV positive.
Institutional care of children is the removal of a child from their family or communal life and residence to an alternative place of safety.
Well, the children who come here in a bad state, it's not all that they are bad, it's because these children are denied food.
The children are forced to come to this home, one, because of poverty level in the country, the economic situation back in the country. And another reason is because of the parental skills. We give birth to them, but we are not responsible enough. We also have the other aspect that is also pushing some of these kids away from it is the way what they go through in schools. You see, like some of them, we have kids who have literally been beaten in school, and because of that, they've run out of school. They've gone to the streets. And the others is just, they've been neglected.
The community around, I don't know what has gone wrong. They abandon children. Somebody can abandon the whole family.
There are 3 major categories of cases commonly found. The first category is abandoned children. In this category, there are cases referred to as harsh abandonments, where it is almost clear that the intention of the parent was to harm the child and to ensure that they do not survive. Other cases are called soft abandonments, where the children are abandoned at hospitals with a good Samaritan, say a mother who requests for help from a stranger to hold her baby and she disappears, or with any person or at any place which is perceived to be safe for the child and that the abandoned child will quickly be discovered.
Tuliishi Nyando district. Alafu mamangu alikuwa mgonjwa, akatuchukua, akaanza kutembea na sisi from town to town. Kutoka Kindu Bay, tukaenda kulala kwa police station. Alafu mama yetu alitoka katuacha hapo, ataenda kutafuta kazi. Tulituacha hapo, wao polisi walikajaribu kumngojea. Walijaribu kumngojea na hakurudi.
Vile tulikuwa tunatoka kwa nyumba, mamangu akaniambia ati anaenda kwa choo. Nikamgoja. Kurudi kumwangalia sikumpata.
In most cases, abandonment occurs soon after birth. Therefore, most abandoned children are usually infants who are not able to express themselves, and for some, it is very difficult to trace where they came from. Such children are normally rescued, offered respite care, reported to the police, and they are then referred to children's home for care and protection. If within 6 months their families cannot be traced and do not claim the children, they are normally put through the adoption process. The second category is of children who are seeking refuge from abuse or violence.
Working with the street children, mostly from the streets, those who are living. So basically it's not an orphan. We don't look at the orphans or whoever the background of the child is, but we pick up all the children who have been living on the streets, doing drugs like glue, sniffing, and maybe smoking and doing other types of drugs.
The third category is of children who have been deliberately placed in the home by the family or social system as a perceived solution.
Some of the reasons that cause children to be separated from their families include poverty, and in that case where the family is too poor to afford the children the necessary comfort.
Nyumbani huko tulikuwa na shida mob sana. Hatukuwa tunapata chakula, tulikuwa tunateseka kwa vile my father was dead on 1991. Sa vile niliona hivyo, nikaamua tu nitoroke.
After I was given birth by my mother, due to my physical disability, and according to our community, they believe whenever a woman gives birth to a child with physical disability, they regarded this as a bad omen to the community, since she wanted to save her marriage. That's how I end up in the institution.
There are some parents who may have got these children by mistake. They did not want to have these children, and that would be the one aspect.
There is no one cause that leads to the separation of a child from their families, but different reasons have been identified that lead to separation. There are currently 1,500 known childcare institutions in Kenya, which house a total number of about 300,000, out of which only 700 are registered and holding 42,000 children who for one reason or another have found themselves separated from their biological families. Children who have been brought into the homes consider these homes as their primary family home. However, most of these children end up spending their entire childhood in these homes, and what was ideally meant to be a temporary solution is unfortunately made to be a permanent situation for the child.
What I hated about the institution, sometimes there is not that freedom of expression, what you feel. And sometimes there is that lack of information.
Research has shown that children growing up in institutions have attachment disorder, low self-esteem, lack a sense of identity and belonging, have difficulties adjusting to a family setup, develop a culture of dependency, are very vulnerable, are exposed to a high risk of abuse, and they are vulnerable to child trafficking, among other problems.
Some of the problems of an orphanage is on discipline among the children. Actually, that is one of the challenges that I noted when I came into St. Clair's.
Most of the children that were here mostly were practicing homosexuality. Some of them dodged classes. Some didn't want even to be told anything. They were rude.
As wonderful as some of these homes may be, they cannot replace the sense of identity and belonging a child receives from being part of a family within their own community.
They were actually really indisciplined. But I had to open a counseling session with them.
With the children, you know, sometimes a child can fall sick even at night. So on how the child can be rushed to the hospital, since we don't have an hospital within the compound, we organize how the child can be taken to the hospital and how to get the means, especially at night, when a child falls sick.
Vile nilikuja nilikuwa bado mgeni. Sasa ilikuwa ngumu kwangu kuanza. Sijui nianze wapi na nifike wapi.
Today, the major problem we have with institutions is the fact that they do not have a proper exit strategy and they keep children for long in the institutions. When the time comes for the children to be released, some of them are sent out when they are not skilled enough to live by themselves and therefore are not able to bring positive change in their communities.
It also became an issue because now most of the children wanted to be in St. Clair's. Now when you want to be in St. Clair's, then you lose out on that link between you, the child, and the family.
I remember the social worker came in my room, then said, "Tom, please, you have to leave." I said, "No." Then she called another lady who came and packed my belongings, and they took them in the institution vehicle. Then I said, "I'm not leaving this. I'm not leaving this place." Then after a few hours, I saw some security came. They took me like a sack. I don't know whether I was a rotten person. Then they just threw me into the vehicle. Then I started to cry. Sometimes when I remember those moments, I feel very bad. After staying all long, I thought these were my family, but this is the way it ends. So I had nothing to do. So I accepted. I just got inside the van. I had even no time to say goodbye to my friends, and that was all.
Some of the problems faced in institutions can be curbed through the application of several family-based alternative methods. These methods are provided for by the law. They are adoption, foster care, and guardianship. Adoption is the process of providing an alternative family that is not related to the child. This is done through the High Court and offers a permanent family to the abandoned child. Foster care involves providing a temporary alternative family for children not related to the family. Foster care is normally done so as to prevent the children from being taken to the institutions, especially when they are likely to go back to their families. Guardianship, on the other hand, is where parents appoint a guardian through a signed will or deed to take care of their children and property when they are deceased. Most children service providers are now looking into the placement of children into a family setup. This has been found to be the best permanent alternative towards the child's development.
And I told them, no, the home is only for a short-term thing. This is not really a place where a child can stay. A child needs to stay with the parents.
The placement of the child can be done through kinship care, or the child can be placed in a family setup through adoption. The need for a functional family unit that would facilitate a permanent alternative care for the child was identified. It is for this reason that Little Angels Network was founded. Little Angels Network is one of the 5 registered adoption societies in Kenya.
Little Angels is a charity incorporated in Kenya. We are pretty much an agency that works to place children back home or place children in families. We were set up in around 2005 with the main objective of placing children in family. We are known mainly as an adoption agency, but we still do a lot of work in alternative family care, working a lot to change laws in a way that the laws would also incorporate the placement of children back in families.
Little Angels Network operates on 3 main focus areas: adoption, advocacy, and quality of care, with adoption being the main focus.
We have 2 main strategies. One of them is to advocate for policies and laws that will point children back to their families. The other one is to do the actual work of taking children into families.
The Little Angels Network organization's most important role is to ensure that the child's best interests are the guiding principles in the intended change of the child's status and environment. This they do by providing the best family care options necessary for the child's well-being. Little Angels Network is also pioneering in advocating for inclusion of kinship care, which is the best permanent family care option, mostly used in Kenya and Africa as a whole, but often not recognized for in the law.
Kinship care is a program that was started by Little Angels in 2010. To cater for the children who were missing out on adoption because they had ties with their relatives. Basically, it means the next of kin. And then they decided to call the program Kinship Care.
Little Angels Network is keen on pushing for kinship in the law because in our own culture, children belong to a family or a community.
Little Angel approached us, then they mooted us the idea of reintegration.
Little Angels Network's Kinship Care project is committed to developing a good practice manual for reintegration to be adopted as a model policy document, as well as develop a training manual to be used and implemented by charitable children institutions exiting children. Reintegration process is a well-planned process that starts at admission of a child in an institution immediately after separation from the family.
At admission in the institution, all this information has to be put down, where now you can classify this child will be taken back to their families or will be offered for another alternative care.
Thereafter, a social worker prepares a care plan outlining the relevant programs in the institution to help the child meet their felt needs and later to guide the reintegration process. The second step is tracing the family or relatives of the child based on information obtained at admission.
After you find the parents, that's what we call tracing. You start working with the parents. If there was a case of abuse, if there was a case of child running away from the home, if there was a case of orphan and maybe they were not able to decide who can keep the child among the relative members, then you can work with the family where you form a group we call case conference, including all the relatives of the children and all known people to the child.
Where tracing is successful, family members are assessed, counseled to solve the underlying problem, trained on empowerment activities to be able to sustain the child, and a family conference is formed to provide social support to the family that will be receiving the child.
Sister alituambia si ati hawataki watoto, ni vile wanataka watoto wakuwe na wazazi ndio wasikie hiyo uzuri ya wazazi. Saa waliamua watatusaidia na vitu zingine na wakatusaidia na vitu hizo. Ya kwanza ilikuwa manguo, ya pili ilikuwa nyumba, ya tatu ilikuwa nini ya biashara, ilikuwa pesa ya biashara.
The third step is preparing the child to leave the institution through counseling and allowing them to visit their family for short periods. The fourth step is the actual reintegration, where the child is reunited with his or her family. The fifth step is the aftercare service or follow-up, where institutional social workers visit the child after 2 weeks following reintegration to assess adjustments and empower the family as recommended after assessment and help the family to develop a sustainable income to support the child while ensuring the stability of the child within the family.
After the case conference, you can start counseling, because most of the families you find they have problems. Maybe they think because they are poor, they are not able to provide for the child. Others, it was abusive case. You have to counsel the parents. You have to work with them. You basically start programs that will help the family to solve the problem.
Follow-up continues for a given period at regular intervals, and slowly visits can reduce as a child adjusts to the environment. The final step is phasing out or disengagement of the institution from the family.
The social worker can now stop following up on the child after being sure that the child will be safe. the child has adjusted and accepted back to the community.
Hata kama ningekuwa na familia yetu, ingekuwa tu vizuri. Kama hapa pia tuko tu kama familia, lakini kuna challenge zingine yenye unapata kama mtu mmoja ni mgonjwa ama kuna chicken pox. So hiyo inashika watu wengi, hata kama we hakukuwa unaweza kupata, lakini nakupata. Na kama kwa familia yako tu peke yako, hakuna hizo vitu kama hizo ugonjwa mbalimbali, lakini ile naye uko tu peke yenu.
But currently the shift has changed from repatriation to reintegration, where reintegration, it's a process where you have to identify first the problem that had uprooted the child from the family and place the child into the institution.
Even though this process looks bureaucratic, it has been proven 100% successful by the practitioners who have reintegrated children, unlike the repatriation process previously used, which reported highest rates of relapse and children running back to the institutions or back into the streets. Several structural issues that Little Angels Network has put in place in order to enhance its functionalities. All these structural issues are geared towards enabling the child to get the best environment for development. There is also need for the development of local childcare institutions to improve structural services that would help facilitate and support permanent alternative family care.
Vile niko nao nasikia niko sawa kabisa. Nasikia niko sawa, juu hata watoto ninaona wako sawa, wako free na mimi.
Keeping the children with their family, I believe, has really helped Kingdom Kids. Now we always create and have room for one extra child most of the times. Whenever there is that need, we will always pick up a child and we can always help.
Kwa siku za usoni, ningependa kuwa na familia kama watu wengine.
Ningependa siku moja kuwa na familia kama watu wengine.
I'm very happy that I came to know you and you have made me to know more about the Little Angels, the adoption, kingship, and fostering.
Little Angels walked with us. Every step they walked with us, and including the courtroom. They were together with us until the last day.